AI is our friend, in my view.
Yes.
It goes back into the conversation about how do we reduce the cost of execution.
Yes.
AI is a brilliant opportunity for a time such as this, where we
Yes.
can get ahead. We should see technology as our friend,
Yes.
not our enemy.
That's true.
So how important is cloud-based business? I think it's crucial.
So back with another podcast, and Willem, we still have you here. And so on a previous podcast, we touched on issues in small businesses, right? And I think the topic that we are going into technology.
Yes.
And that's maybe one of the points that is also such a big challenge in small businesses that we didn't get to. And so I'm excited to just touch on this and especially getting your perspective on it. So in terms of technology in small businesses and in accounting, but let's first go to the accounting part and see, because you are focused, you're a zero partner. I mean, you are great in being able to implement the full zero experience. So how important is cloud-based accounting in today's world?
Sure. Let me just, before I answer your question, give you
Yes.
some context with where I come from. When I was studying accounting, the one topic and subject that I hated, sorry for the strong word,
Yeah.
was information technology.
Yeah,
I've never been comfortable with computers.
sure.
And if you do study auditing and you approach an audit from an IT perspective, there's two main approaches.
Yes.
You either, what they would say, audit through the computer, or you audit around the computer.
Yeah,
If you audit around the computer, you treat it like a black box.
yes.
In other words, you close your eyes, you ignore what happens inside, you just design tests to see what goes in, comes out correctly.
Yes.
I was the black box auditor.
Yeah.
I used to avoid going through the computer just because I was intimidated by the information technology.
Yeah.
I didn't understand it. And even when I decided to go on my own for the first time, the
Yes.
failed attempt, I used Word and Excel to do most of this stuff.
Yeah.
I stayed away from technology.
Yes. Yeah.
And I would say that's one of the reasons I didn't succeed the first time.
Wow.
When I did it the second time around, I was super clear that this has to be a technology-driven business. It's going to be a
Yes.
tech business.
Yes.
And I was deliberate in the beginning that I'm going to build a tech accounting firm, not a accounting practice.
Yes.
Okay. So I think that's an important
Yeah.
context to put in this
Yes.
conversation, and to also see the character transformation from then to today, where
Yes.
everything we do is tech driven.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I think the key thing there, and sorry, I haven't answered your question
No,
yet,
that's
but
yeah.
the key thing there is I think we should see technology as our friend,
Yes.
not our enemy.
That's true.
So how important is cloud-based business? I think it's crucial.
Yes.
So look at it this way. As an accountant, right? What's happening in the industry at the moment? And for a long time, our services are becoming increasingly commoditized.
Yes.
You know, there's plenty of accountants out there that can deliver the same service at the same quality with the same passion.
Exactly.
And so that's the challenge. So we as accountants have to find a way to reduce the cost of execution.
Great.
And I cannot in today's world see how you will remain a competitive accountant unless you operate in the cloud.
100%.
It's just how it is.
Definitely.
And even as a small business, you've got the same challenge. There's always going to be pressure on sales.
Yes.
There's always going to be pressure on costs.
Yes.
Your profit margin is always under threat.
Yeah.
So one of the ways in which you can do it, if you can't increase prices, is to be more efficient.
Yeah. Definitely.
And cloud accounting or cloud technology, for that matter, helps you extend your arms.
100%. So in layman's term, right, for the listeners and everything, maybe just explain what is cloud-based, you know? So, I mean, I think so many people are actually in. Why I'm asking this question is I want to make it clear to people that they shouldn't be scared of it. Because I think that without them realizing, they are working on cloud-based systems every single day of their life.
Yes.
So in layman's term, what is cloud-based and how can it become our friend instead of our enemy?
Yeah, so cloud-based, if I can take a step back, you know, traditionally, what would companies do if they use information technology? You've got a computer, the computer processes your information. That information must be stored somewhere. And that's why companies, especially bigger companies, don't just have a hard disk on each of their computers, they've got a server in their premises, right? So having a server, for those of the listeners who's had that experience before, will know that having a server comes with its own set of problems and challenges and costs. It all adds up.
Yes.
And so cloud-based technology is simply another way of saying that you don't have your own server. There's somebody sitting elsewhere in the country that's got a server farm, so to speak, because they've got the capital, they've got the resources to manage the risks associated with having a server infinitely better than you can.
Yes.
Including information security, cyber security, and all that. So all it means is you buying a fraction of their server space. That's what cloud-based technology is.
Sure.
And as far as I'm concerned, if you look at it that way, it's an absolute no-brainer.
Yes, exactly.
And so how would I try and soften or convince an anti-cloud person? I'd say, well, do you have Facebook? Do you have a Netflix account? Do you have a DSTV account?
Exactly.
Those are cloud-based applications,
100%.
and it's just one of the ways in which one can interact with a cloud technology.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, I mean, if we touch on costing, right, in servers, I mean, some of the servers goes hundreds of thousands of rands if you need to implement a good server for your company. So in terms of the cloud-based part then, because also whenever people hear technology, whenever they hear AI, you know, they also start thinking money and how expensive it's going to be, and I can't afford it for my small business. I mean, the reality is that some small businesses feel they can't pay 700 Rand for 0 subscription, right? Or they can't pay 450, whatever the price is for an accounting system. So how do you, like, at what point in time do you start advising small businesses, now you need to move completely digital and start implementing technology for your business? And how do you define a return on investment for them?
I would try and start with a relatable example, right?
Yes.
Let's use Netflix as an example.
Great.
What is or what was the alternative to Netflix? It's to have your own CDs or DVDs, sorry, and DVD player. So if you wanted to replicate what Netflix is, you probably need to have 100,000 DVDs. Where are you going to store everything?
Yes.
That's one, right? And, you know, it scratches. It gets old over time. And then you need to look for it. And there's a whole story. Or hopefully you still have a DVD or DVD Rama in your town where you live. Those things don't exist anymore.
Exactly.
So I think on the one end, I would say that it's a matter of time. It's not if, it's when. So I think the sooner one can make that transition, the better.
Yes.
In terms of the costs, also, I think there's enough evidence out there in the marketplace already that can demonstrate, anyone who's doing the research, that will know that the absolute cost might be a bit more for an online subscription, but you cannot just compare that with cash cost. You've got to also compare it with opportunity cost. So let's use an accounting example, because that's close to home for us, right? If you pay for a 0 subscription now, you mentioned 700, probably, you know, some of the subscriptions go for 900. So, and if you look at an alternative, a desktop solution, you pay a fraction of that. Right? But then you must also factor in what it's going to cost you to maintain your server.
Correct.
To store all that data.
Yes.
And then you have to also consider the insurance you have to take out.
Yes.
To protect the server.
Yeah.
And all the consulting fees you have to pay to test the backups.
Exactly.
That's if you do all those things.
Yes.
Right? If you factor those costs in, including the opportunity cost that you lose because of the machine learning efficiencies that you don't have in the desktop solutions.
Yes.
And access to information, ability to work remotely.
Yes.
Ability to move faster. You will soon realize that the costs associated with not being in the cloud far exceeds the cost of buying a monthly subscription.
100%. So, and I mean, that's so true, right? And now we get to the thing of the older generation. So without saying that old people can't work on technology, because I believe there's a lot of older people that can. But you do get to the point where people say, you know, like, I'm 55 years old, I'm not going to learn this new
Hey,
thing.
careful now. Let's stop this conversation.
Yeah.
First, define older generation.
Yeah.
What is old?
I'm not going to attach an
Okay,
age
okay.
to it, right?
Okay.
But that's it gets to that point. So I mean, I've had so many clients, and I've had small business owners saying, I'm too old to learn this. And I think you touched on the previous podcast in lifelong learning.
Yeah.
And so when you get to a point where you say, I'm 55 and
Yeah.
I'm too old to learn this and I'm never going to use it, I think maybe you are missing a point in terms of what you want to create for your business and sustainability. But do you think there's an easier way for the older generation, without attaching an age to it, right, to ease into the tech-driven world?
Yeah, so let's just go back to the point, in terms of the kind of client you're dealing with.
Yes.
And you're absolutely right. I think it's a worldview that you either have or you don't have of lifelong learning. And there's plenty examples of captains of industry in South Africa who's beyond 60, 70 that are lifelong learners and people who are very successful in business exactly because they've kept up to date with technology. They've understood trends and they've adapted their business to comply with latest trends.
Yes.
So I think if you're one of the people that's like thinks like that, then yes, you probably not building a sustainable business, or perhaps you've got your one eye on your exit already and you don't have the appetite to invest it, and that's, which is fun. I mean, there's no. So if I have a client that thinks like that, I would start to not reconsider, but I would start to ask questions. How much longer is this going to be a client of mine? Because my business, I also want to scale my business, and my business is technology dependent.
Yes.
So if I have a client that's got a negative attitude towards technology, chances are it's going to cost me more to service that client, because I'm going to have to invest more time to help them overcome whatever technology barriers they have.
100%, yeah.
So I think it's a very good point that you're making and a question that you're asking, and we have to consider it. But how do you make it easy? I think that's a difficult answer, because if you have made up your mind that you're not going to learn or adapt, then there's no app in the world that's going to be easy for you to understand.
Yeah. So it comes down to the choice that you need to make, right? Yeah. And I think one thing that I want to touch on in terms of the cloud-based also, it's just that real-life data.
Yes.
Right? And that comes down to all of the challenges that we actually mentioned in the previous podcast, right? Yep. You have your cash flow challenges, you have your scalability. And so the real-life data actually creates an opportunity for you to really find a solution with all of this stuff. Yeah. Because you need to, as a small business owner, start acting proactively. Yeah. Right? And we need to see the problem before the problem comes.
Yes.
So that we can find a solution. And I think that's the problem, is like that small businesses have. They make the mistake, they lose the money, then they need to go through that lesson again.
Yes.
And so something you touched on was to say, when it comes to opportunity cost, or when they have to decide between stock or accounting, they always opt for the stock, and in a year or 2 or 3 later, they get the accountant in. And I'm dealing with certain situations where clients come in and 10 years of financials hasn't been done.
Yeah.
And that cost that they then need to invest in order to get the things up to date, in order to get their books up to date, in order to start making a decision in their business, is extreme.
Yeah.
Right? So I think that real life data also 100%. Has such a massive impact in terms of that. So with technology, it becomes a solution.
Yes.
If you start utilizing it on the right manner and everything.
Yes.
So just a last few, a last thing. I mean, with the Zero that you are doing, there's so many integrations, right? And so many apps that we are currently using. For instance, ChatGPT. So how do you find, when it gets to a point of using an app like ChatGPT, do you trust everything that's happening there? Or do you also use your own discernment in order to say, I'm going to use this as a resource to make life easier, but still I'm going to use my own discretion in business to make that decision?
So interesting question. I was reading a mail from a person that I know in business a few weeks ago, and I've had various interactions with this person on a personal level, and I know what they look like, I know how they speak, I know the kind of words they would typically use, And they sent me this long email, and within the first few sentences, it was crystal clear to me that they've just processed something through ChatGPT,
Wow.
and they copied and they pasted.
Yeah.
And the moment I came to that realization and I saw how it was written, I actually lost interest.
Sure.
I stopped reading the mail and I just called them.
Yeah.
And I just said, let's have a chat. you
Yeah.
know? And it was just, the email was so robotic.
Yes.
It had huge words that she never uses. and that's not that I'm underestimating intelligence. I mean,
Yeah.
I've got a certain vocabulary. There's certain words I don't use either.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
And it was even Americanized,
Yeah.
with all due respect to my
Yeah.
American friends. So
Yes.
all the S's were Z's, you know.
Yeah.
And the first thing that was left with me was, it's not authentic.
Yes.
And sorry, I don't want to divert from the point,
No,
but
yeah.
I think for me it's about authenticity.
Yes.
Business is human to human interaction. That's what it's about.
Definitely. Yeah.
So to answer your question, and I think the principle applies to everything. As AI is our friend, in my view.
Yes.
It goes back into the conversation about how do we reduce the cost of execution.
Yes.
AI is a brilliant opportunity for a time such as this, where we
Yes.
can get ahead. In fact, no, it's not about getting ahead. I think it's about staying with the
Yes.
competition,
100%.
right?
Definitely.
To give yourself more time, but you got to apply your mind. You got to look at whatever it comes out and
Yeah.
make sure you agree with it.
Great stuff. And so we want to encourage you as a viewer and a listener to start making technology your friend, because it's going to work for you. Willem, thank you so much for being here.
Amazing. Thank you.